You did mention the non-existent climate crisis, and that it's a ploy for world control. And this is what we hear this argument from people a lot. And you and I had a few messages about my Oxford speech, that you understand how I feel about, if we're being told that carbon is the problem, why are we doing things that don't seem to really do anything about that? So I get what you're saying. But I always get wary when people get into this sort of like, there's a group of people who secretly have an agenda. Now, we see with the Davos people, whatever, they all believe this stuff and they all think it's important. And because they think it's important, they think a global problem requires global solutions.
Correct.
But are you saying that these aren't just a bunch of, slightly deluded, well-intentioned people, but actually they don't believe the thing that they're saying in the first place?
There's actually 3 times more carbon stored in the topsoil of the Earth than all the trees and plants combined. By plowing less and making that soil more fertile, scientists say farmers could help trap massive amounts of additional planet-warming carbon emissions in the ground.
What do you do with that data?
Publish it. We're not the climate cops. We're maybe the neighborhood watch, but our neighborhood is the whole world.
We're in constant communication with the scientific community.
Al Gore has been sounding the climate alarm for more than 4 decades. First as a young congressman, and then 15 years ago with his planetary PowerPoint in the film An Inconvenient Truth. It earned him an Oscar, a Nobel Peace Prize, and plenty of scorn from climate change deniers.
Some people called you a kook for, being too far left on the environmental stuff. In a kind of unfortunate way, do you feel like what you have been saying all along has been validated?
Well, I certainly wish I had been wrong. And more to the point, what I've been saying is really just channeling what the scientific community has been saying.
Some of them do. The less intelligent ones do. The John Kerrys and the Al Gores and then you got some true believers. Jillian Tett, knocked heads with her a few times at the Financial Times. But some of them do. But the vast majority of Americans, and I would say people, Western Europe, maybe even more so, who buy into this, you ask them a simple question, like, hey, what percentage of the atmosphere is CO2? I have no idea.
Job number 1 is to stop using the sky as an open sewer for all of this man-made global warming pollution. And that's what's making the weather crazy and dangerous, leading to all of the consequences that are on the TV news almost every night now.
There's all this progress being made, but is it enough?
A realist will tell you, look, we've done some damage. Some of it, regrettably, is not recoverable. But we go from where we are. You want to avoid tipping people into despair because some people go from denial to despair without pausing on the intermediate step of actually doing something about it.
Do you know that CO2, the main reason it's around is plant food? If you get rid of CO2, all the plants will die and we'll start it. No, I didn't think of that. It's poison, really. I just exhaled some CO2, sorry. I didn't mean to poison the room. I mean, these people don't know anything about chemistry. They don't know anything about physics. They don't know anything about climate. But the system is so complex that other factors come into play that tend to reverse, have recursive functions and tend to reverse whatever it was that started. The causes of climate change are actually very well known.
Today's UN report details the relentless advance of climate change on every continent. The world's glaciers shrinking at a dramatic pace right before our eyes.
It's not just that we're losing ice, but we're losing ice faster and faster, and that has consequences.
The 40 glaciers tracked worldwide lost an average of more than 4.2 feet of ice in a year. In Europe, the melting of the glaciers in the Alps is off the charts. Little winter snow and a summer heat wave, exacerbated by dark dust from the Saharan desert that trapped heat, accelerating the record melt. All this glacier melt contributing to record sea level rise. Here in Lower Manhattan, scientists predict the waters behind me could rise another foot by 2050.
The medieval warm period from around about the 10th century to the 12th century, they were growing grapes in Greenland. I mean, they had farms, they had colonies, and then today they're all under ice. The Little Ice Age, which wasn't a true ice age, but it was an intense period of global cooling, the Thames was frozen. They didn't need the bridges. You could walk across the Thames on ice, and they had what they call frost fairs in the early 17th century London, where the merchants would set up their booths on the Thames, and people would go out ice skating, and you could go shopping. That's how cold it was, and that lasted for several hundred years. So of course the climate changes, and say, you're a climate denier. I'm not a climate denier. Climate change all the time.